All right. So, what I want to talk to you guys today about is a supplement for fat loss that you've probably all heard. You've probably used it before. What is it? It is L L-carnitine. And so L-carnitine is often marketed as a fat burning supplement. However, most people don't realize that there's two different kinds of administration methods that you can do with L-carnitine. One is being the injectable, is the other is orally. So, actually drinking the L-carnitine. And so, if you struggled with stubborn fat loss, or you want an extra, edge, using L-carnitine might be worth considering. It's not that expensive to implement either, but only if you use them correctly, which is with anything, right? So let's first look at it from a standpoint of, excuse me, why we could use it for health reasons outside of fat loss. So again, outside of the fat loss benefits, L-carnitine can show improvement in your overall health as well. It can do it can have improvements on things such as like your lipid profiles in terms of reducing total cholesterol, and also improve your triglycerides as well too. It can also aid in reducing insulin sensitivity by removing those harmful lipids from the cells, which will then fix and mend those cell membranes, making them more, permeable um, for the body to actually be able to use them properly. Um, Now, if we are looking at what actually is L-carnitine and how does it actually work, L-carnitine is an amino acid derivative that plays a pretty key role in fat metabolism. So basically, what it does is it helps transports fatty acids into the mitochondria, which we've all took elementary biology, right? Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? That's one thing that I had ingrained into my brain a long time ago. But that's where those fatty acids are taken to and then burned for energy, right? So L-carnitine is like it's the transporter, right? It takes them to that mitochondria, and then the mitochondria then uses that for fuel, right? Now, while your body naturally produces L-carnitine, supplementation can help enhance this process, right? Especially when you combine a proper diet and training regimen. But let's go ahead and just throw this out there. Do not send me a message. Hey, can I start taking L-carnitine? Blah blah blah. If you haven't been consistent, right? This is just it's another one of them things to where if you're not on point with your diet or your training regimen or just whatever, right? You're wasting your money. Just what it boils down to. This is not some magical thing that you can just take and it does things for you. You actually have to put in the work alongside of it to reap the benefits, right? Um, and so you just don't want to start taking this supplement and then you not do the other things like the nutrition, the training, the steps, everything else, right? And then you not get the results and then, oh, this didn't work, XYZ. No, in reality, it was you that didn't do the work, right? The L-carnitine was there. You just didn't provide a good enough environment for it to do its actual job, if that makes sense. But now, L-carnitine has a half-life of 5 to 6 days, and the movement of that L-carnitine into the skeletal muscle, which is where its main like storage compartment is, that's where the majority of that L-carnitine is stored. It's a very slow process. There's no real need to schedule these shots or taking this oral L-carnitine around cardio or anything like that, since you need that chronic administration of this supplement to elevate that level of L-carnitine in the body. And it takes days for that to occur. It's kind of like creatine, right? Um, if the first day that you take creatine, it's not going to do any kind of magical thing for you, right? It takes several days for your body to be fully, saturated with the creatine until those levels are good enough to where your body can actually utilize it, right? It's the same with L-carnitine. It takes several days for that to build up and be fully saturated in your system. So you won't, take some L-carnitine and immediately feel the effects from it. You might experience something like a placebo just from taking something new. But again, it takes days for that to build up in your system for it to be fully saturated. Now, the big thing is there are two types of administration, which is what kind of the main topic is about today. You have oral and then you have injectable. Which one is best? Now, before we even go any further than this, a lot of people associate injectable supplements as something bad, right? Like it's a steroid or it's something illegal, and that's just not the case, right? The main reason that a lot of these supplements are in injectable form is a point blank, just better absorption rate. Just is what it is. So most oral L-carnitine supplements that you'll see, I mean, in today's market at Walmart, GNC, the nutrition store, supplement store, whatever, right? They're going to be oral. To get the injectable, it's just order it online, right? Pretty simple to do there. But the biggest key here is most oral L-carnitine supplements, not most, let me back that up, all oral L-carnitine supplements have poor absorption rate, meaning that they don't even reach the bloodstream in high enough levels to make a real impact. I mean, just let's just be honest. You're just wasting your money. Just what it boils down to. The oral version only has 20% bioavailability, whereas the injectable is 100%. So if you buy, I don't know, a bottle of L-carnitine, and the bottle is, I don't know, this big, right? You're only getting that much of it, right? That's only 20%. So again, going back to it takes days and days, for that to be fully saturated in your body. You're going to have to take I mean, literally 5 times the amount of what you would take in the injectable version, as compared to the oral, just to build up that, saturation limit inside of the body, simply because just the bioavailability of the oral kind, it just sucks. It does. Um, the oral version has to go through the digestive system, and it loses almost all of its bioavailability. I mean, almost 80%, right? So again, you're just wasting your money. Whereas the injectable L-carnitine bypasses the digestive system. I mean, you're just injecting it just right into your body, right? Um, which will lead to better absorption and bioavailability. Higher intracellular levels of L-carnitine, and you'll see faster results in fat metabolism and endurance as well too. And now let's take a step back. I guess maybe movies or like TV shows have this negative connotation of injectable stuff, right? Everybody always thinks, I mean, Jeff could probably attest, since he's a police officer, heroin. I mean, a lot of people, they see on the movies people inject stuff and it's right here on the vein, right? Well, with this kind of stuff, you're not going to be a junkie and tie your arm off and stick it here. That's not what you do. It's either a subcutaneous shot where you pinch the belly fat, and you use an insulin needle, which is like that. I mean, it's very very tiny. You wouldn't even feel it, or you could just stick it straight into a muscle. But again, that needle is so tiny you won't even feel it. So again, it's not like you're main veining it or something. That's definitely not something that I would recommend you do anyway. But if we're staying on the topic of injectable L-carnitine, just overall, it's just going to be better for you as opposed to the oral version. So, as far as what can L-carnitine actually do to help with fat loss, so it's obviously going to increase fat utilization for energy. Again, it's going to take those fatty acids into the mitochondria for fuel. It helps your body use that stored fat as fuel, making fat loss more efficient. It's going to boost performance and endurance. If there's more energy available, right, then you're going to have better workouts, better mood, more calories burned. That just kind of goes hand in hand. You'll see a response in a better insulin sensitivity, as well too, which can then in turn help reduce fat storage, move those fats into the mitochondria instead of being stored, and then just enhance nutrient partitioning. And then it will reduce exercise induced fatigue. So it can help some with recovery as well too. Now, as far as dosage wise goes, I'm not going to dive into the oral because I think it's just a waste of time for you to take that. But the typical dosage for really I mean, there's a range, right? Females should start out at 200 milligrams a day. Males could go as far as 400 milligrams a day. It's a very small window. But if you're newer to this, start on the lower end. Work your way up, that kind of thing. And then talking just about the injection site, intramuscularly, which that could be in your glutes, your shoulders, your quads, wherever there's a muscle, right? You could put that at, or which is I prefer in the belly fat. Just pinch you a little bit of belly fat, stick it in there. It's just like a diabetic has to take shots in the stomach, right? Or they used to before, or some still do, right? But a lot of them have that automatic pump and stuff now. But it's kind of the same administration level there. Um, and then one big thing about timing. So a lot of people think that there's some magical formulation about timing around taking this injectable L-carnitine, and there's no real need for a specific timing. Again, it takes several days for that to build up in your body, right? So the only real guideline that I could say as far as timing goes is just don't take it before bed. That's just kind of pointless in that aspect. And then take it in the morning with a meal that has carbohydrates, because where there's carbohydrates present, insulin is going to be present, and that can help with uptake as well too. And then finally, who should consider taking? I mean, anybody here could, right? I mean, this is not going to change your natty status if you're wanting to be a natty 100% natty for life. Like that's cool. Like that doesn't really change anything. Anybody could really do this. This is really for individuals who are struggling with fat loss. This is not something that you should just start off just right off the bat, just to see how much results that you could get in the quickest time, right? And then it could also just be for people who want to optimize in endurance and performance. And then, if we're going more toward the bodybuilding side of things, this is great for females to use because there's no androgenic effects either. So we don't the females won't experience any kind of like androgenic effects as far as like masculinity changes within their body, without diving too far into that. So it's a really good supplement to take, as well too. Now, as far as side effects go, there's not a ton of side effects. This is kind of like every other thing that you take. Um, what's the old saying? The poison is in the dose, or something like that. If you take too much Advil, you could die, right? If you drink too much water, you get water poisoning. If you take too much, you'll probably see a little bit of like discomfort, more likely like gastrointestinal, like your stomach's probably going to hurt, and you're probably going to have an upset stomach for several days. Um, and then, at the injection side itself, if you do decide, to go that route, you might have a little bit of pain of irritability there, but that's with you stabbing yourself anywhere on the body, right? Like it's going to be sore for a little bit. So, um, and then, and this is kind of going maybe a little bit too deep into it, but L-carnitine does require adequate choline levels as well too. So either pairing it with like eggs or something, or just making sure that eggs are in your diet, or actually supplementing with choline while you're taking L-carnitine is also a good thing as well too. Just to be sure that you're actually utilizing it to the best of your ability, or your body's ability, right? And final thoughts about L-carnitine pretty much is it can be a powerful tool for fat loss, right? There are certainly other supplements out there that are more powerful for fat loss. Then you kind of get into um, uh, the morality of it, I guess, is maybe is one way to put it. There are obviously some other supplements out there that you can take that'll help you get to a leaner physique, but then they're actually prescription medications, right? And is that okay to do? I'm not the one to say yes or no. Maybe even talking about like Ozempic or Wegovy, things like that. Like for sure that is a fat loss tool that is being utilized today. But again, prescription based, you got to have a doctor. That whole pipeline, maybe a little bit aggravating toward, you can just get injectable L-carnitine off of, Google, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you take. If your diet sucks and your workout intensity is awful, then you're just wasting your money, just what it boils down to. So, outside of that, that's all that I got. I told you guys it wouldn't be a very long one today, but fairly informative, I would say. But with that, has anybody got any questions about L-carnitine injectable, the oral stuff, anything at all?
One question I would have is how long should you take it and how long is too long?
So that's a really good point. So to see any kind of effects at all, it takes 5 to 6 days for that to be built up in your body, right? So you take it, don't expect anything for a week to happen, right? And even then, 2 or 3 weeks later, you might not visibly see anything happening, but just realize that your body is now shifting to using more of those, fatty acids for fuel, right? And that's not something that you can feel happening, right? But you'll be able to see that in pictures, and things like that. And as far as how long, you can run it year round if you wanted to. It's one of the safer supplements, medications, peptides, that kind of thing that you can run year round if you wanted to. If you wanted to, it basically just utilizes fatty acids. I mean, it's just what it boils down to. I mean, I know a ton of people who actually run it all the time. To be completely honest, it just at that point it comes down to a cost thing, right? I think like if you, I think the last time that I looked, like if you started out on the lower side, like a 200 milligrams a day, it would be like if you did it every day, I think it might be 40 or $50 a month is what it kind of would come out to. But again, it really just depends on if you can nail your diet and your exercise year round and you want to use that year round, then cool deal. I see no issue with that at all. So the main thing is just be responsible. Don't have that more is better mindset. Oh, I'm on 400 milligrams right now. Let me try what 800 will do. 800 will probably give you a stomach ache. You probably won't feel too good. So, and you'll find out on your own, but nothing detrimental, I would say. So.
You have to adjust your calorie intake since you said it burns more calories. So if you're on that maximum dose for a male or female, is that something you need to watch your new nutrition?
No, so it's not really burning any more calories. It's so instead of using glycogen, stored glucose for fat, is taking the fatty acids instead, which are normally being stored as fat, is taking those for fuel instead of the glycogen. So it's the same calorie intake. It's just changing fuel. It's not totally changing it from carbs to fats, but it's changing. It's change. I guess you could probably say it's changing the ratio of how much fats are burned as consumed to carbs, if that makes sense. So okay, good deal. Anybody else got any questions or anything?
Yeah. So what happens if you're on it consistently and stop?
Um, Again, that kind of depends on what your diet and what your training looks like. I don't think it's not like I mean, for sure it definitely helps, but it's not like a magic pill that's gonna make you 5% leaner, do XYZ better. I mean, you'll, I would say probably as long as you can stick to your training routine and keep your nutrition fairly in check, it probably wouldn't do. You would obviously regress a little bit. You might put on a little bit more body fat, and your body wouldn't utilize nutrients as well. But there are other things that you could do on the backside of that too. Just like improving insulin sensitivity as a whole, and then that would still help the utilization of fatty acids to be more of a higher ratio anyway, as compared to carbs, if that makes sense. So I mean, I guess maybe it's kind of like um, if you have a race car and you have nitrous hooked up to it, even without the nitrous, it's still a race car, right? Still going to go fast, but just not as fast with the nitrous, if that makes sense. So if you take it, you stop it, you're going to see a little bit of a downplay, but I wouldn't see a ton. So anybody else got any questions, any wondering thoughts?
I got a
Whenever,
question about the.
oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Will.
Jacob.
What you
You
got,
go ahead,
Rick?
brother.
No, I was just gonna ask, whenever it comes to like competition prep or anything like that, do you typically like recommend people not be on it whenever they're in that stage, or
No,
is that
I
just like a
mean,
tool to
I
be
mean, you
used?
could you could definitely use it for sure in
Yeah,
contest prep. I mean, it would definitely help.
yeah,
I mean, I'm a believer of using, and this is kind of getting off topic, but it's not your fault. It's me going down another road. Um, in any kind of situation like that, the less that you can get by with using, the better. But you also need to keep in mind too, if we need to use other things or more of something to not get us a better result, but make the process easier, I guess maybe is a better way to put it. I'm all for it. Um, so like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like don't get me wrong, I'm all for that less is more mindset. If you could prep fully without needing any kind of any kind of fat burning agents, that's awesome. But if you could take something like that and it would help maybe reduce the need for cardio or such extreme dieting, which then would favor in better fatigue management, then I'm all for it. But if it's something that's just like, oh, I want to take this and this and this and this and this and just see what I can do, then that's when you're wrong. So, but yes, in contest prep, sure. I mean, it would definitely be. I mean, now granted, there are better things to use, but then that would probably put you in that not natty club. So the L-carnitine, if you're trying to stay on the natural train, which I'm all for it, right? That's cool. But L-carnitine, in my eyes, is just like taking
yeah.
creatine. So, what you got, Ren?
I was going to ask about what you were talking about with the choline, supplementing alongside that. So, I mean, you know what my diet consists of, so maybe I'm getting enough of it, but that's not like a micronutrient that I can track. And so I'm just curious, like, is that something that you would recommend supplementation for just in case? Is that something that something like Mike Blend, which I know is another injectable, but it's all amino acids, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, is that something that would be helpful? I'm trying to think through, like, that's not something I've incorporated before, so I'm not sure if that's something that
It,
would be useful.
it could be. I mean, I would probably guess that you're probably not getting enough of it from your diet potentially. I mean, I would probably guess probably not. I mean, just like anything else, I mean, everybody probably needs supplementation in a ton of areas just to where the nutrition is just not hitting on everything. I mean, me personally, I take choline every day, and it's not for me using L-carnitine. It's because I can't even think of the name of it. What's the name of that stuff? It's not Adderall, but I think it's modafinil is what it is. It's like the non-addictive version of Adderall. Like I take some if I have a very high load day like today with check-ins and I'll take one of those. But that stuff can also deplete choline levels in the brain, so which can then cause brain fatigue, brain fog, stuff like that. So I take it to keep that level high. If I end up taking, some of that modafinil. Um, do I need to be taking it outside of that? Probably. But it's kind of hard to say with as much food as you're eating. You might be getting enough, but without a full blood work analysis, it would be hard to tell. You know what I mean? So, but
Thank
yeah,
you.
good question for sure. Cool. A lot of good questions today, actually. So, um, I think Miss Holly put something in the chat. How soon can you start? Um, we'll get there. If it's something that we can get by without it, we definitely will. So, but anybody else got any questions on anything at all? If not, speak now. Forever hold your peace. Well, I guess that'll do it for today then. I appreciate you guys showing up. That was a pretty interesting topic. I would say. He has had some good questions too. I really thought Ren was going to stump me with something, so but I can always edit that out if I need to. But anyway, hope you guys have a good day. Have a good day. I appreciate y'all showing up, and I'll talk to you guys soon.